So welcome to Hare Krishna Valley. Hope you like the program so far. We're the Hare Krishna people, if you haven't worked that out as yet. So what we usually do, we just ask if anyone has any questions or comments that you've ever wanted to ask a Hare Krishna person, or a spiritually focused person, or a spiritually engaged person. Sometimes people say, I've always wanted to ask them a particular question about life, the universe, everything. We have some answers, so we're willing to discuss anything that you'd like to. So does anyone have any questions that they wanted to ask, first of all? Okay, any other questions? Everyone has attained enlightenment? Possible. At this stage of enlightenment, there may be no more questions to ask. That's possible also. So, does anyone have anything you'd like to ask? Anything you want to? Yes, madam. Anita. You always get us started.
Could you maybe share your journey a little bit and how
I
came
can?
to be a Hare Krishna?
Hare Krishna, yeah, sure. So, I was born in Melbourne and grew up in Eltham, which is on the north side of Melbourne, northeast, like near Doncaster, that kind of area, like that. So I, from a very young age, I was always interested in spirituality. My mother was an atheist. She did not believe in something higher. My father was not connected to anything spiritual, but he had a very deep spirituality about him. But from a very young age, I just had an innate understanding there was something higher than us. There was a higher purpose to life. And when I was 5 years old, I went to school, and then they gave me, or not let me give, but the teacher would read the Bible, which you can't do anymore in school, because they've kind of separated everything. Religious instruction's not there in the state system anymore. You have to go to a private school to have any religious kind of teaching. So my teacher read the Bible to us, and then I went home and I said to my mother and father, buy me a Bible. They brought the children's Bible, and every night before I went to sleep they used to read it to me. My mum read, she didn't even believe in God, but she used to read me the Bible, children's Bible, when I was like that. So I always had like an innate kind of thing. And when I was young, I used to always pray before I went to sleep. You know, I prayed for my mum and my dad, and my brothers, and my dog, and you know, like that. But no one ever taught me to do that, but it was just like something innate within me. And then when I was maybe about 10, there used to be a TV show called Kung Fu. Does anyone remember this? Only the older people, or the young people, I don't think you know. Yeah, all the young people were like, what? That's so good, man. I was like, really a good show. It had David Carradine in it. You must remember this old show. Some people are nodding. Yeah, remember that show, yeah. So when he's young, he was called Grasshopper. He was a monk. He was a young boy, and he was Shaolin monk, and had no hair, like that bald. And when I used to watch that when I was 10 years old, I used to think, that's me. I'm like, that's me. You know, because it must have been, in my understanding, from a past life, I must have been in a monastery with a shaved head and practicing some form of discipline and spirituality. So I always knew later in life, at some point in my life, I would be a monk. There was just something in me. I knew that I was going to do that, shave my head, and I just knew that was part of my journey. So then I grew up, you know, went to school and got to about the age of 15, and then got, you know, into materialism like everyone in the world does. And, you know, started getting girlfriends and going to parties and playing sport and just doing the whole, just like everyone does in modern society. The main thing in modern society, and I was discussing this with someone before we came in modern society there's a vacuum of spirituality. In other words, spirituality is not a part of our culture. Whereas if you go to India or you go to Southeast Asia, spirituality is a part of the culture. People wake up in the morning, like you go to Bali. Anyone been to Bali? Yeah, most people are nodding their heads, like, you know, a lot of people have been to Bali. So you get up in the morning and people go to the temple. They go down the end of their street, or even in their own home, they begin to do an offering. It's just part of the culture. And what do we do here in Australia? We turn on the television We get a little candle and we offer it to the television. But that's not spiritual. It's not a part of our culture. It's kind of the opposite. It's like materialism is our culture. And actually, if you define, because Australia is a young country, just like I went to England a few years ago to see my guru, quite a few years ago, but I went to Oxford where he was staying, and you walk down the street and he's saying, oh, this building's 800 years old, this one's 1200 years old. There's a culture that goes back. If you go to Australia, we only have a young country. I think, what are we, 200 and something years old. So if you look at Australia, what is our culture? Interesting book that a friend of mine read a few years back. The culture of Australia and of Western society is consumerism. That's our culture, to consume, right? Why do we do that? Because it gives you deep inner happiness, right? Aren't you so happy when you just consume? But that's the culture, and people think that is the way to happiness. I just consume as much as I can, I'll be the happiest guy. As the great guru Donald Trump once said, he who dies with the most toys wins. That's the philosophy. That's the philosophy of modern culture. You get as much as you can, you'll be happy. There's one guy on TEDx, I can't remember his name, but I saw him speaking not long ago, and he said this is the equivalent in modern civilization of plastering or taping sandwiches to the outside of your body. What will that do for you? Go to the shop, buy 10 sandwiches and put them on the outside of your body and see that if that fills your hunger, satisfies your appetite, and gives your body strength. It will do nothing for you. So this is modern society, right? We just get all these things which you just put on the outside of us. Oh, I've got this watch. This is my watch. I've got this. I've got a Rolex, right? Or I've got a little alligator here, right? Or my shoes go swoosh, or 3 stripes, like that. And that's what it's all about. They actually did a study a few years back of modern society, and they said, because if you go to Melbourne right now, or any city around the world, what are most of the shops?
Chains.
What's that?
Chains.
Chains, yeah, yeah, it's true, that's true. But what's in the shops? Clothing, yeah. So most of it's clothing, right? So people go to buy clothes, right? And they did a study. What do boys buy mostly? Brands, right? It's got to have a brand on it. If you're a boy, it's all about what you identify with your brand. I've got to have my alligator, right? Because then I'm in the alligator club, right? Or I've got to have my swoosh, because then I'm in the swoosh club. Or I've got to have my, whatever. Like, it's a brand. And the girls, it's got to look good, right? It doesn't matter what the brand is, but it's got to fit the figure, to make me look as good as possible, right? So this is the consumerism which is in modern society. It's all based on superficiality. So you just keep putting these things on the outside of your body and you'll be deeply happy, right? But that's modern society. That's what they're teaching us, right? So when I was about 15, I was just doing the same as everyone. But I'd wake up in the morning and I'd look at the roof and I'd just think, what am I doing? So it went on like this between about 15 and 19. And between 15 and 19, I had a couple of tragedies in my life. I lost one of my brothers. Now, when I was 15 years old, he passed away. So that was extremely confronting to the family. And as soon as that happened, I was the member of our family who was the most well adjusted to it. Because it awoke within me something from what I believe was my previous life, which was a deep understanding that everything is temporary in this world. And there is something far more meaningful to life than putting sandwiches on your body. So I had some very, like you would say tragic in one sense things, but they were very enlightening or awakening experiences. So by the time I was 19, I was kind of over the material world. Has anyone kind of had that experience in their life? Anyone who's sitting here tonight kind of got this experience? One person put their hand up at the back. I got 2.5 here. Okay, I got 3.5 at the back. Okay. Now everyone's saying, yeah, actually that's true. Yeah, so okay. So I was 19. I was studying acting. I went to acting classes. I was studying with John Roddick from the acting studio in New York. He was out here and he was running classes. So I was studying with him and I was doing modeling to make money. And I was just waking up in the morning just thinking, there's got to be more than this. You know, there's got to, because I was in those industries, modeling industry, the acting industry, and it's to a large degree very superficial. Not completely. There's some very nice people there, but there's also a lot of superficiality there in that industry. So I was just thinking, what am I doing with my life? So then I had a Rottweiler, not a vicious one, but like, this dog we've got out here, Bima, this big Rhodesian Ridgeback, and big guy. I had one like him, a very classic guy, but he was huge, So we didn't have very good fences, so he kept getting out and eating chickens and stuff around the area, causing trouble. So I was getting a number of fines, and the fines were building up on my dog. And then I was studying a modelling course. I was at one TAFE or something. I was doing a modelling course, 6-week course or something. And the course was boring the hell out of me. I just thought, you could teach me this in 6 hours, what I've got to go through in 6 weeks. So what I used to do is to go to my grandmother's house and stay with her, because she wouldn't tell my mum I wasn't going to the course. So I'd go and hang out with my grandmother, and I went around there one day, and she wasn't there. And then on the shelf there was a book, and the book said Coming Back. And I picked it up, and it was The Science of Reincarnation. It was one of the Hare Krishna books. So I thought, that's interesting. I'm into reincarnation. I'm thinking about like higher things like that. So then I picked up the book, and I read it for 2 hours. And at the end of it, I thought, this is what I'm looking for. What I can't say, but I know within myself, the deep knowledge I have within myself, which I believe was from a previous life, I knew it was true. So then I thought to myself, I'll go to the Hare Krishna temple. But it took me 9 months to get there, because I had some material plans and some material desires, like all of us have. One friend of mine had a yacht, and he was going to sail the yacht over to the Mediterranean and pick up another yacht and sail it back. So I said, okay, I'll go with you and I'll sail the yacht. But after 9 months, the yacht was still sitting there. Right? He hadn't fixed it, it wasn't ready to go, so I knew that wasn't going to happen. And then I was studying acting, and I kept waiting for a guy to walk through the door. I thought every day in the class someone's going to walk through the door and say, you! I want you! Come now to Hollywood. I need you for the next... like that. So I kept, and that didn't happen after 9 months. No one walked through the door. And then this dog I had built up so many fines I had to go to court. So I went to court, and I was sitting there in the courtroom, not in the courtroom, but in the foyer before you go into court. And I was just thinking, what am I going to do with my life? I was just thinking, what's this all about? There's got to be something more to it than this. Acting's not working out, sailing's not working out, the Rottweiler's not working out. It's like, it's not working. Anyone ever feel like that? Like, it just doesn't work? Just like the pieces just don't... Everyone knows what I'm talking about here tonight? Okay. You came to the right place then. So yeah, after 9 months, I was sitting there, and I was thinking, I'm not going to go in here. I'm going to walk in here, and the judge is going to say, $1,000 worth of fines. So I just got up, and I just got my car and drove to the Hare Krishna temple in Albert Park. And I walked in, I had my suit on, and I was looking like, and I walked in, and there was no one there. But when I walked in, there was an atmosphere. And it was kind of like what, when I was watching Kung Fu when I was a kid. Like you walked into like the monastery, and it was kind of like, like that. And I just felt like, wow, I'm back. I'm back in the monastery. I'm like, this is where I'm meant to be. So I sat there for about an hour, and there was no one around. And finally someone walked past, he was a monk. And he just kept walking past, like going to the temple and then back. And every time he walked past, he just looked at me. And I thought, wow, this guy's like spiritual. He's like on some other level. He's like, he doesn't even talk. I'm like, wow. It was Jagannath Ballabha. Some of us know him. He's still there. He's still in the temple, like 30 years. But when I saw him, I just thought, wow. I thought, this is what I want to be, like this. So then he went and got someone. He's a very quiet person, so he went and got someone, and they came and spoke to me. And then they came up to me. The first Hare Krishna I kind of spoke to was a young lady. She was in Adelaide now. And she came up to me and said, what do you do? And I said, I'm a model and an actor. And she goes, well, just keep being a model and an actor, but do it for Krishna. Just spiritualize it. I just looked at her and I thought, that's the last thing I want to do. I don't want to keep doing this. So I said to her, thank you very much, for speaking to me. But then she went and got someone else, and he came and spoke to me. And then he started saying, no, you can actually be a monk. So then I became a monk for 8 years. I lived in the ashram in the temple in Albert Park for 8 years. And I studied the ancient teachings. And then after another 8 years, I lived in Melbourne and kept teaching. And I still run a course. I run a course which I've been running for about 12 years in Melbourne on Monday and Tuesday nights. And I teach the ancient teachings of India. And then about 8 years ago, they asked me to come down here to the Hare Krishna Valley and to develop it into a retreat centre, which is what we're doing now. We're doing biodynamic farming and developing our ahimsa dairy and like that. So I think that's basically the story. So I think the crux of it is that I just saw that the world, as it stands now, is not working. And I need an alternative. And I'm not going to conform. I'm a non-conformist. Is anyone in the room a non-conformist? We always get the non-conformists coming in. Because the world is not working and I refuse to be a part of it. So I don't have a television. I live in an eco house, which after the feast, if you want to see our eco house, we live over the back here, we'll take over and show. It's a very amazing place. Solar powered, solar passive, mud brick. We harvest our own rainwater like that. That's off the grid like that. So, I refuse to live like the rest of society lives, because society is not going in the right direction. That's my conclusion. I worked that out when I was 19. I didn't want to be a part of it. I don't want to follow just what my parents are doing. And my mother's a lovely person. I love my mother dearly, but she told me not to become a Hare Krishna. I came home, I was 19, I said, Mum, you want to become a Hare Krishna? I said, no, you're not. What are you doing to your mother? Why were you putting me through this? You haven't lived your life yet. You don't have enough experience. Right? She said to me on the spot, she said, I will buy you a ticket to Jamaica right now. Right? If you do not become a Hare Krishna. Because I was talking about going to the Caribbean and checking a little out. So she goes, I'll pay you the ticket right now, anywhere in the world, anywhere, but not this. And I said, I've got to do what I've got to do. So I did it. Walked out, shaved my head, put on my orange robes, became a monk, chanted down the street with my tambourine. Not exactly, but you get the drift. And then she came around to the temple. Every week she'd come and visit me. And then after a month, she said, well, if you're happy, I'm happy. Now she's been to India with me. She's a vegetarian now. She chants Hare Krishna herself. Lots like that. So now, and whenever there's a problem in the family, guess who they all come to? Yeah, they all come to the Hare Krishna. All my family, And it's interesting because they all said to me a few years ago, we were at some family reunion or something, and they all said to me, out of all of us, you're the most happy. Even though materially I had the least. They all have their assets and everything, material assets, but spiritually they see that I have the most. And my mother went through cancer about 5 years ago, I think it was. 5, 6, maybe it was longer now. Okay. It was no, actually before I moved here, so it must have been 9 years ago or something, she went through cancer. And so I said to her, I said, what do you want me to do? I said, you just keep doing what you're doing right now. So don't change anything. She said, I'm the insurance policy for the family. Because it says in our ancient teachings that if I get liberated, if I go back to Krishna, back to God, it says that everyone in my family also goes back. And also it says everyone at the Sunday feast today also goes back to it. Doesn't actually say that. You've got to do that yourself. Okay. Does that cover? Anything you want to follow up on? It's okay. Yeah. Okay, so if I look at the crux of it is that materialism is not working, right? And we need a spiritual answer to what's the crisis in society as far as I can see? What is the crisis? Because they're talking about crisis in fuel. Now we're talking about crisis in food. Now we're talking about crisis in water, which are the real assets of the world, which are all disappearing very quickly. We're talking about economic crisis. We're talking also, but what is the actual crisis or the actual essence, which is the crux of everything, which is causing all the problems? As far as I see, it's spirituality. People are disconnected from Krishna, from God. And as long as you're disconnected, you can be everything. We can make the whole world vegans even, because I know you have strong feelings. And I'd fully support that, although I'd keep having milk. But I'd fully support that. But that's not going to solve all the world's problems, unfortunately. That will make it a lot better, but it's not the crux of everything. The crux is everything we're disconnected from our origin, from our source, who we believe is Krishna. Thank you very much for you got the party started. So, thank you.
Do you think that this is your
Yes, sir.
this is your best? I don't know. It's method to market in the sense of for you spreading the word to do it this way. Because look, I'm only just speaking from my own personal level, but perhaps you're kind of segregating yourself.
Kind of what?
Kind of segregating yourself or segregating the organisation. If you were perhaps more doing your thing mainstream, so to speak, you can touch a bigger audience. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I don't think we're segregating ourselves because we do and we don't. We do segregate ourselves because the world is a bit crazy, so we do have to separate ourselves from it to a degree, right? Just to stay sane. Because if I was living out there, I probably wouldn't be able to give a very balanced...
I'll live out there, I'm kind of sane.
Yeah, like that. But I wouldn't want to be out there every day going through what you're going through, with all due respect. Yeah, we just...
Yeah, but do you think that do you think then you are like some of that?
Yeah, I understand your point. I'll get to the point. I think I understand the question. Tell me if I'm not getting into it. But I think there does need to be some separatism because there needs to be an alternative, a positive alternative. So there needs to be some separatism. But simultaneously, most people, like I'm a priest, the equivalent of. If you go to the church, right, you have the priest in the church. Like I'm like the monk or whatever you call it. So most of the lay members in the church, they're not like that. They're just the IT workers and the lawyers and the this and that and the doctors and all the rest. They're just mainstream, right? So most of our members in our society are just mainstream people. Right? They're just out there in mainstream society. Like Narayan, he works with elderly people. Yeah, he looks after the elderly people. He's just mainstream, like that. So we've got doctors, nurses, all the rest of it, like that. So we do. Like today is like a mainstream event as far as I can see. We're inviting the public into our place, to share and to enlighten, like that. So we are mainstream in that sense. And the way that we're constantly out there in society, like the Biragara Festival, I think that's where you guys came in contact with us. So we're out there, right? But we're out there giving out our food, or we're out there, giving our spiritual knowledge or the teachings or the books or something like that. So we're not aloof from society, but we're also not going to follow the general dictates of society. So is that making?
I understand what you're saying. I guess it's I don't know anything about it a bit more, but I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I guess it's because it's different. People don't innately drawn to that. I don't think.
Yeah, to the externals, I would agree with you. Like, not everyone might want to wear robes, for example. Not everyone might want to shave their heads, for example, and have the little ponytail on the back, for example. They might not want to do that. So, but the externals is only superficial.
I know, but then isn't that, like in some respects, I'm just speaking my mind, I don't necessarily believe this as such, but in some respects to just be the normal guy, so to speak, even just from a personal level, but you are out there spreading your message normally. I know I'm not saying this is not normal, but I
understand what you mean.
You look
most of our members are doing that.
Yeah.
Most of our members are doing that because the big guys. You could have a guy working in your factory. It might be a Hare Krishna for all we know. Could be like that. So we're everywhere. Yeah, we're everywhere. So it means that we are doing it like that. But simultaneously, you need some other people who are like the spiritual directors. And in our culture, in Sanskrit, the ancient language, it's called Brahmana. Brahmana means someone who is enlightened. So his duty is to direct and enlighten everyone else. So that person has to stay a little bit aloof to a degree. But we're not really anyway because we're always out there. We're down at the Innsmarsh Festival the other week, and then like that. And so we're always interacting with everyone anyway. So even though we're aloof to a degree, but we're also very involved to a large degree as well.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying. I think your viewpoint's good. But we're pretty much doing what you're saying. It's not like everyone's exactly like me. We're not all monks and priests. That's like an element of our movement. It's like the spiritual direction of our movement is coming from that. But it's not like every member's like that.
Yeah. I guess, I would say from my own personal perspective that if it's just, you go about your business on a day-to-day basis without any fanfare, so to speak, just be what you are, and doing that has the greatest impact on the world, so to speak.
To a degree, to a degree it does. Yeah, you're just saying that we're good people, and that we're normal people and like that. Yeah, that has a large effect. I mean, we have certain, you could say, rules. I suppose you could say. I'm trying to think of another word. It's another synonym.
Lifestyle principles.
What was that?
Lifestyle principles.
Lifestyle principles, very good. That's a nice way of saying it. Lifestyle principles, which we choose as our members, like that. So the first one is we do not eat meat. So that's a lifestyle principle that we advocate and that we don't tolerate it within society. And we want to shut that down in society wholesale, 100%. Animal slaughter, right? It's not acceptable, right? Because the aggregate karma from that violent activity upon what we could say, the dependent species who are dependent upon us. Well, if you want to get biblical, because we're coming from like I said to you before, more from a Hindu background, but if you want to get biblical, it says in the Bible, man has dominion over the animals. Right? So if you have dominion over someone, it doesn't mean you slaughter them. Right? It means that you protect them, like that. So that has to be changed. And that is one of the biggest problems in modern society. Right? We think we can eat whatever we want, do what we want, harm whoever we want, be violent upon whoever we want, and the rest of society is just going to be all loving and peaceful, and humans are just going to all get along perfectly. Never going to happen.
Isn't that secondary though to, like you were saying earlier, isn't it secondary to what's in your core? So if what's in your core is compassion,
it's not second. It's not secondary. It's primary, because if you're truly enlightened, you will give the animals as much respect as you do human beings.
But if you're truly enlightened, everything else just happens.
Okay, so if you're truly enlightened, you'd automatically start doing that. You'd be vegetarian.
That's right.
If you're truly enlightened.
So then maybe is it not that it's a rule, so to speak, that it would come naturally with.
Yeah, so that's the point I'm making. That's what we understand to be enlightened action, or enlightened karma, or what we call karma yoga. Karma means activity. Yoga means to make your activity divine or spiritual. So our understanding is divine activity or enlightened activity. It means you would act like that. So we don't tolerate it at all, right? And we don't compromise it at all. We don't say, it's okay. Just to give an example, I went to the Buddhist place which is in what's it called? Paraparap. Yeah, it's 15 minutes from here. It's just over the back. So I went over there just to have a look and to meet them and have a talk to them. And then at the end, I was walking out and I was speaking to the monk who was walking with me, and I said to her, "Are you vegetarian?" She said, "It's good to be. But it's not, the main thing is what sort of person you are." Right? Now, if you come over here to our place and have a walk with me, and at the end saying you're vegetarian, I'm not going to say, "It's good to be. But it's better this way," because for us, the crux of being a good person, if you analyze true goodness, means to give respect to every living entity. Like we wouldn't even kill an ant unnecessarily. Right? So that's enlightenment. That's true enlightenment. So what we're saying, we do not compromise these things. And it's not, if we're talking about being truly spiritual, then let's talk about what true spirituality is. Not pseudo-spirituality or compromised spirituality or watered down spirit, because it's not. Spiritual means spirit. What is spirit? Spirit is wherever there is life. Where is there life? Wherever you see activity. Like, is this microphone alive? No, it's not. Right? Hello. Mike. How you doing? Hello. No, I can talk to it all day long. It's not going to do anything. But an ant, you can see there's life there. Right? The spark of energy, which is coming from Krishna, from the divine himself. So we cannot create that. There's no human being, even the top scientist on the planet cannot create that. So none of us have the right to take that away unnecessarily. Right? So therefore, to say that it's a principle which, that's true spirituality. So that's one of the things that we advocate very strongly, uncompromisingly. And if we don't do it, no one's going to do it. Because everyone else compromises. Everyone else says, just, do your best and be nice to everyone. Yeah, kill the animals, have McDonald's, but just be really nice. Yeah, just be nice to people. Just smile when you're having your Big Mac. But what is that? That's not real. Okay. So then the second thing that we also we don't take any form of intoxication, anything addictive, which means we don't have alcohol, drugs, what else is there?
Chocolate.
We'll get that's low on the list. I'll speak about that briefly. But, yeah, okay, yeah, coffee, cigarettes. What else is there? So my brain's just not going up to speed today. But you know what I mean. Anything.
Heaps.
Yeah, so many. I mean, we're like myself. We're so sick. We don't even take coffee and tea because that's addictive. People are addicted to coffee. We have retreats here all the time. Every time we have a retreat, people come, and by the end of the weekend, people have got headaches because they just haven't had coffee for a couple of days. It's addictive, like that. Chocolate is also addictive, like that. And there's a whole, how would you say it? A split in the Hare Krishna movement. There's the chocolate Hare Krishnas and the non-chocolate Hare Krishnas.
You jumped on the wrong side.
What's that?
You jumped on the wrong side.
I never buy it. But if someone gives it to me, I don't refuse it. I'm not addicted to it. I know myself, I'm not addicted to it. But if someone gives me chocolate, I'm like, oh my God, I ate chocolate. Krishna, forgive me. It's not like that. But some Hare Krishnas are very strict. They won't even eat chocolate because it is addictive, like that. So we don't take any intoxication, right? Which is important for the earth because Melbourne, which is just up the road here, you might have heard of that city up the road, very pleasant spiritually, just up the road there. Most livable city in the world. Right? Just up the road, it has an ice epidemic as we speak now. There are dozens and hundreds and thousands of people taking drugs right there. Right there, just 150 kilometers from us. It's an epidemic which is going on there. Below the surface, it looks like the most livable city in the world. The place is crazy. It's insane. Like that. So it's necessary not to, if you want to attain spiritual enlightenment, you have to give up these things. How will you become spiritually enlightened? How will you understand your soul, your spiritual nature, your eternal relationship with Krishna or God if you're on ice?
LSD, maybe.
Yeah. There was a lot of experimentation with that in the late 60s, and that collided with the Hare Krishna movement, like that. And a lot of the people that became our founding members were drawn out of that LSD experience, like that. In other words, the high does not stay there forever. It doesn't. But when you chant Hare Krishna like we were doing before, we're all dancing and chanting, that high that we get from that, because there was something going on there. I mean, I think you all felt something to different degrees. Like the guys in the middle were definitely can't help ourselves. You guys got coffee, we got so that's what we do. But the high doesn't go down. That's the point. I don't have like depressive days. Oh my God, it's like I haven't had coffee for 6 days or something. We don't go through that kind of stuff. But the whole society's going through mental illness, depression, anxiety, bipolar, like so many disorders. If you look at the statistics at this point in time, the World Health Organization, mental disease is overtaking everything else at the moment, rapidly. It's becoming the problem on the earth at the moment. Don't worry about dying from cancer and all the rest of it. Just try to stay sane in this day and age, right? It's not working, right? And a lot of this is because people are taking the wrong substances. We could talk about that for long. Okay, so we don't eat meat, we don't take intoxication, we don't gamble, right? Which is a big problem in society. I've never had a problem with it. Most people I know don't have a problem with it, but it is a big problem. It's there in society. And we don't have illicit sex, which means we don't have sex outside of marriage. And for those of us who are very strict, like the monks, like we are, we only have sex to procreate children. Like that. So it's like that's the purity that we try to practice so that we can connect fully with Krishna in our consciousness. Because any of these other things, eating meat, taking intoxicants, gambling, and too much sexual indulgence, it distracts your consciousness from the main goal of life, which is to understand your true spirituality and your relationship with Krishna and with God. So as Hare Krishnas, we follow those tenets very strictly. So I can't remember what your original point was, but...
I don't know either, but that's so good.
Yeah.
I guess it's just interesting that, I grew up in a very strict Catholic household.
Yeah.
And I guess there's been a bit of a shift for me, but there's a lot of rules around being a Catholic.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of these things that, like what you're talking about, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't I do have sex, but
You,
don't eat meat.
you've
But-
almost
and
got the haircut as well, so it's like...
Yeah, but it's not.
Can
That's
you
not because I
put some
follow.
grease
That's not because I follow anything. It's just that's what's right for me.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just right for you, it's right for the universe.
Yeah. Well, I am. That's me as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that further. Don't think you're the whole universe, like that. Maybe a little part of it, but not. So-
whatever that is.
Yeah, well, we can define what it is. It's a point. We do have definition on these things. A lot of people say, well, they're not really sure. No, we do. We have clarity based on very ancient concepts and teachings like that. But it's right for everyone to follow those things because it leads to sanity. Right? You can't become enlightened unless you're at least basically sane first. And people they're really playing with fire at this point. Modern society is playing with fire because it's mucking up the consciousness, especially the younger generation.
I think ultimately, from my perspective, it's peace. Like, so when you lay your head down on the pillow at night, if you have that peace, whatever that is for you, but that's for me. That's what it is. The rest of it is really just details.
Yeah.
And the rest of it will be okay if you have that. I feel.
No, we would agree with you. We would say the only modification I make on that is that peace is just a natural byproduct of being connected to Krishna or God. It's just a natural byproduct. Well, we're peaceful. That's our job description. Yeah, we've got to be peaceful all the time because we are. We are pretty much. But the reason we are that is because of our deep connection with Krishna or God. And if you have that, automatically you'll be peaceful. Because if you just try for peace on itself without that connection, it will not last. You will be separated from that peace. It will not stay. Because the crux of that peace is our original connection. That's the point. So, Madam, you had a point. You just put your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to ask what suggestion do you have for your members in the mainstream? How do you stay sane in that world?
You come down here a lot. No,
So
seriously.
if you don't come here a lot...
Oh, if you don't come here a lot,
how
we
do
wish you a lot of luck. The point is, in our tradition, it doesn't mean just coming here to this physical place, but it means what we call in Sanskrit, we call it satsanga. Sangha means association or unification or togetherness. We all need that. We're all social by nature. We all need to be with others like that. So you can join the football club and be with other people. Yeah, it's like, if you're going through mental disease, they say to you, be social, go out and join a club or do an activity or something. That's good because you do need that socialization. But you need to associate with people, not that like my brother plays football, he's kind of like he's a member of the Hare Krishna movement, he plays down here, plays football and stuff. So you can do those things, but then the main part of your life is the socialization on the spiritual platform. So it means coming together with other people who are spiritually inclined and spiritually enlightened and associating with them. That's what keeps you sane. Because if you don't have that, if you just try to do it by yourself, you may be swallowed up by what's going on out there. So it means, just being together with others who have the same principles and the same destination and the same aspiration. And that keeps you strong. So I personally go to India every year for 5 weeks every year, just to get out of the West. I get on the plane at Tullamarine, and I take off, and I look down and I say, I'll be back soon, but I'm not going to miss you too much. Okay. And then I go over to India, and then I get fully into being with people who are highly spiritual. Some of the gurus in our movement are very powerful entities. I associate with them for 5 weeks, get recharged, and then I come back in, I try to help society here. So you need to have that spiritually inclined association to keep you strong and healthy. Yes, madam.
I would just like to hear your understanding of what it is to be enlightened. I know a lot of people talk about, learning and obtaining all this information and studying and researching until finally they reach this state of enlightenment. And then other people would talk about, taking off the layers and getting back to your true essence, and maybe that is what it is to be enlightened, it's having a connection. But yeah, I'm interested to hear really what that means.
Yeah, well, you're going to get my perspective like that. So. But I'll give you my perspective. My perspective is based on the Vedic teachings of India, which is based on some of these books, like the Bhagavad Gita. Have you heard of that book? Yeah, that's famous. In India, that's like the Bible. That's a famous. It's written in Sanskrit. It's 5,000 years old. I've based my life on these teachings for 25 years. It's working for me deeply. I feel very satisfied with it. So our definition of enlightenment is two things. There's one is called God realization. We say Krishna in our tradition. So Krishna, we say Krishna consciousness. And the other is self-realization. Who am I and who is the original person? Now in our tradition, we are personalistic. Right? Hands up here if you're a person. Okay, I got 95%. You always get a couple and just start. Yeah. So we're all people, right? But the most common, if you go on the earth these days, both in the East and in the West, the most common perception of spirituality, true spirituality, is impersonalism. That it's all just energy or light up there. And you've just got to merge back into that energy or light. That's not our understanding. Because we're people. So it means I have to give up my individuality, my personal proclivities, my nature, and just become homogeneous with all light and energy, right? There's a reason why people deeply believe that is the goal, is because this world is suffering. Like in Buddhism, it teaches this world is suffering. So therefore, to extinguish that suffering is the goal of life. So therefore, you just merge and you just become like one and kind of happy, which for most of us sounds really good, because it ain't that good down here sometimes. So we just, if that's what it is, yeah, get me there as soon as you can. But our understanding is that it is personalistic. There's a person, there's an original entity who is the source of all of us. In the biblical terms, it says we are created in the image of that person. So in our understanding, here's a person, he lives in his own place. In Christianity they say heaven, we say Vaikuntha or Goloka. And you go back to be with him. Now, in enlightenment, we have a spiritual form, just like you see in all the pictures. There's Krishna, or God is the bluish person. So you know which one he is. You know, when we're all up there, he's the bluish one. Why is he blue? Good question, right? Because when the sky is blue, it's the color of happiness. So God keeps himself like that all the time because he's happy. He's happy. That's where the song came from, right? He's happy, right? And if you're with him, you will also be like that. So he's bluish. That's actually why he is. That's why good people say, why is he blue? Because he's happy. He's just so blessed. He's just like, you know. So by being with him, we feel perfectly connected and spiritually enlightened. So what is enlightenment for us, right? Is to be a pure soul in relationship with him. But how do we relate to him? What separates us from him right now? Why are we not with God or with Krishna right now?
Materialism.
What's that?
Materialism?
Very good. Materialism. Yeah, that's very good. If we keep going a little deeper, also, that's nice. Why are we not with Krishna and God right now? Why are we in this world instead of the other world right now? Because we were in that world. And we kind of took a wrong turn and we ended up here down in Bambara. Right? And now we're on the way back. Like that. So, what will take us back there? What has to change?
Deep connection with Krishna by chanting.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Deep connection by chanting. That's good. That's nice. But essentially, what is it in us that needs to change?
We need to die while we're alive.
That's true. That's perfectly true. Perfectly true. So we need to analyse that a touch more. The statement's true. You've hit it perfectly on the head. The statement is perfect. But what is the essence of that? What needs to change?
Consciousness.
Very consciousness. Well, what does that consciousness have to change to?
Service attitude.
Very good. Service. We're created to serve. We're created to do good for others. That's all we exist for. And how do you become unhappy? Just get into yourself. And you'll be unhappy, guaranteed. Right? And you see so many people in the world, right? Yeah, I won't say that, because me and Dole were having a talk. We were on a bushwalk yesterday and we're having a talk about why people end up being crazy, right? Because and it actually says in the ancient teachings, it says the reason people end up crazy is they get too into themselves. That's actually what causes it. Because if you spend too much time in there, especially in this day and age, you'll probably end up insane. Right? So you've got to get out of yourself. You've got to do good for others. So what does that mean? Ultimately, it means just who's the original person? It's Krishna, it's God. Serve him. Look after him. Is he okay? Just like you saw Tarini just offered some food, right? We just cooked a delicious feast. The Hare Krishnas are famous for their food. Right? Most of you guys come here for our food, right? Well, that's why I came here. I don't know where you guys come. Yeah, Dougie's honest. Yeah, I'll be there for the food. No, yeah, give me one of those chapatis. Yeah, I'll be. So we come in. So what did she just do? She brought the food in. She offered it to Krishna, to God first. Said, please, you take it first, right? Just like if I cook a meal and I say, come over to my house for dinner. You don't come over and then I start sitting down eating and say, wow, this is great. Do you want some? It's awesome, man. Well, you asked me to come here, so yeah, of course I want some. So when we cook, we offer the food first to Krishna, to God. Why? Because he's first. He has to be first in our consciousness. Right? Don't think about ourselves, think about Krishna, think about God. And when you do that, you'll think about everyone else as well. Just like right now, I'm thinking about all of you, how to enlighten you, how to elevate you, how to bring you closer to Krishna, how to make you happy. Right? So that is the consciousness we need to develop. When you have that consciousness, when you die, you can go back to Krishna. If you don't have that consciousness, you go through samsara, which means another birth, back in this world, and then what happens? You get born in Bambara, down the road there. People down the road are nice, don't worry, it's like, down the road there. But you come back into this world again. And I don't know if I want to come back into this world again. Because we're in 2015 and it's not looking good. I don't know if I want to be a kid in 2050. Seriously. I look at what's going on now, I'm like, whoa. I mean, I think it's getting pretty crazy, but I can't even imagine a couple of generations what it's going to be like. It's not pretty. So,
wouldn't you say we've progressed as a civilization there over the last 2,000 years?
Last 2,000 years?
Yeah. Oh well.
Would I say we've progressed?
Yeah.
I would say it's a mixed bag. Yeah, I would say it's a mixed bag. I would say there has been progression, but there's been evolution. I'm not talking about Darwinism, because we totally don't believe in that. We're creationists. We believe Krishna just went and it all happened. We do, in biblical terms, it's given very simplistically. It took him 7 days, like that. And then the 7 days really tired, so he had to have a rest. We'd say it's a bit different, but we are creation. We don't believe in evolution. But I mean, evolution in consciousness. Yes, at this point in time, there is a level of evolution on consciousness going on in the planet, but there's also a vast devolution going on simultaneously. And it's polarizing a lot of us like that. So I wouldn't say it's one or the other, I'd say it's a very mixed situation. So to answer your question about what is true enlightenment, that's what I say true enlightenment is, to understand that you are a pure soul, a pure servant of the original person who is Krishna, and to see all other living entities in connection to that. That's our definition. And if you go somewhere else, they'll give you a different definition. But I like our food better, so I'm sticking with our definition. Because our sweets are a lot better. And it's right as well. But anyway, it is my opinion.
Do you think if there was, would you say that one thing, I guess from my own perspective, one thing that changed my life was to take the attitude every day, how may I serve, instead of what's in it for me.
Yeah.
And that, like, it's just that one thing changed my life. Like, it's just, and you do it, I think I did it on a conscious level. I did that. I did it for a couple of days, and you do it for a week, and then 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden you're doing that. Not all the time.
As well as you can. Yeah.
Yeah, but that, I think that concept, which I think is what you're talking about earlier, that just, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, because in Sanskrit, in the ancient teaching, the word is dharma. Many people would have heard of that word dharma. It's a famous Sanskrit word. So dharma means the essence of something. So what's the essence of sugar? It's the sweetness. What's the essence of salt? It's the saltiness. What's the essence of fire? It's heat and light. So everything has an essential nature. What is the essence of our soul? Why do we exist? What is our purpose? Only to serve. That's all. We don't exist for any other thing. If I stop serving, I'm unhappy. If I serve, I'm satisfied. So all we're saying is to take it a step further. Who is the most important person in the world, or in the universe, or in creation? It's Krishna, it's God. So serve him first, right? Make that the focus of your life, and then everything else falls perfectly within society. So
like, number one relationship, the relationship you have with God, or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Then everything else falls into place.
yeah, of course. And then you look at, okay, so that's why I said in the beginning, you look at the East, If you go to India and all those places, they all come out in the morning, they all start, lighting the incense, and there's something else there, a higher thing they're all connecting to. And you get up in the morning in the West, and what do? You turn on the television, you have some coffee, it's all about me. And you wonder why Western civilization is crashing drastically and dramatically and quickly, and you wonder why the East is still, spiritually somewhat there. Well, the East is starting to go right off track as well. McDonald's got into Delhi about 20 years ago, and so, any other,
I was just wondering with the reincarnation, like how that works, I suppose. Like, you know how like our population's growing, but if everyone keeps coming back, like I just don't really understand.
Yeah, it's based on consciousness, right? So whatever you develop your consciousness as, that's what you'll take birth as in your next life, right? So, some people have, there's like a new age kind of thing, that like, we're all just evolving. But we're not all evolving. Look, some humans, they're not evolving. Okay, who's the most evil person in the last 100 years of modern history? Yeah, everyone's going to say the same name, right? I've asked this question 1,000 times, I get the same person every time. Do you think that in his next life, right, he's gone into like this amazing, I just got a little bit wrong back there, but now I'm just like, it's like what? It's the devolution. You know where he is now? I don't know where he is now, but it's not good. So it says that as a human being, it's a crossroads. When you get down to like the corner here, and you've got 4 directions you can go to. So in this body, as a human, you can go up, enlighten yourself, you can go down, or you can just stay stagnant. You can do a lot of things. But if you regress, you go back into the animal species or lower, right? And once you go there, there's no karma. Animals don't have karma, plants don't have karma. They just have to evolve back to the human species. So the lowest birth that you can take is the aquatics, means being a fish or something, right? And there's a lot of them, so you have to go through all the different fish species. These are according to our teachings.
Yeah.
Right? Just trying to scare the hell out of you. So, because in all the other, or not all the other, but some of the others, they say there's hell.
But you don't have a hell.
We don't have a hell, yeah. Hell's on this earth. Like I've travelled, I've been in Africa. Serious. I've been to Africa, man. I've seen it. There's people living here, it's not the way it should be. So don't worry about going to a place where there's a guy saying, I was waiting for you to get here. No, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you forever. It's like, it's like, it doesn't exist. There's no place you go forever like that. But according to our teachings, that if you go back into the aquatics, you have to go all the way through the aquatics, then you get to the plants, you have to go all the way back through them. And then once you get through the plants, you have to go to the insects, and then you have to go to the reptiles, then you have to go to the birds, and then you have to go to the beasts. And once you get all the way back through, you become a human again, right? And if you muck up, so human beings are responsibility. It's like, okay, if you're driving a car in this day and age, you need a license, right? So effectively what's happened, you've been given a license as a human being. It's a gift, right? This body is a gift. And if you use it for enlightenment, right, you go up. But if you don't, it's just like if you're driving a car crazy, you drive the cars crazy, they take the license off you and they punish you, right? That happens. So, if you use this form in the wrong way, karma, or the laws of nature set up by the higher power, right, then you have to follow the state laws. We can get away with some state law stuff, like, we can steal or rob or do things and people don't catch us. But in terms of karma, right, there's someone up there watching the whole thing who is a supercomputer, and he sees everyone, and no one escapes. I think of that every time I have a little chocolate.
What do you believe
I was just joking.
with reincarnation if you are fully enlightened?
What's it?
With reincarnation, if you're fully enlightened
Yeah.
in this living,
Yeah.
then what happens?
You go back to Krishna. You go back to the original place. You go back to God. Like that. You don't have to. Reincarnation is an artificial imposition on the soul. We don't. In the spiritual sky, you live eternally in a body which is eternally youthful, right? And you live forever like that. There's no birth. There's no death. There's no old age. There's no disease. And in this world, there is birth. There is death. There is old age. It says in Bhagavad Gita, if you're taking birth in this world, you are sure to die. And as soon as you die, you are sure to take birth again. It says that. And that's just common. That's law. You can't escape it. You say, "Well, I don't believe in that." It doesn't matter. It's not about what you believe or not. It's like I say, I don't believe in gravity, right? I don't believe in it. I don't believe that happened. Right? But it doesn't mean anything. So you can say, I don't believe in, because people say this to me quite often. They say, I don't believe in karma. It doesn't matter. It's not you. You're under laws, you know, and it's how we act in the law system which takes us higher or takes us lower, that's all. And then people say, like you were saying before, like there's prohibitions and there's rules and all that, like stuff like that, and people say, you know, like, you know, one time one of my friends, he was giving a lecture in America in a university. And he said, okay, Hare Krishnas, we don't eat meat, don't have illicit sex, don't take intoxication, don't gamble. Right? And one guy goes, so what do you do for fun? It's not like we do those things in our lives that are empty. It's like, oh my God, you know, I don't have anything to do with my life. Like, we're happier. You know, we don't eat meat, okay, but our food's better. Right? If you don't like the food, then we'll give you your money back. You know, everyone likes that. Everyone says, I meet people all the time. They say, Hare Krishna food's the best. You know, I have people. I'm just walking down the street. Sometimes in Melbourne, just walking down the street, I have people like come up and almost abduct me. You know, just like people can come through and just go down. What's in the food, man? I've actually had people do this. What's in the food? You know, like, or, you know, we serve at Biragara or Dean's Marsh. You know, I've had people come every year. People come up to me and say, "We've been waiting all year for this." I'm like, man, we're just up here, like, just come for the. We have a Sunday feast every month. Just come and eat the food. You know, it's like, what's the problem? We'll give you the food anytime you want. That's not an issue. Any other questions or comments?
I have one about the reincarnation.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
I've often thought about this. If I look outside now, there's probably a magpie out there doing its thing.
Yeah.
Now, I would be pretty sure that magpie will go to sleep, so to speak, at night, you know, pretty content. And this is just my own
Yeah, sure.
It gets totally provided for by
Yep.
all the bugs and worms and stuff, and maybe it gets hit by a car when it's 10 years old. But it's spent that whole time ultimately being peaceful, I feel. We don't do that. As a general rule, we don't do that in our lives, like as a human race. But yet, we feel we're closer to enlightenment or whatever. Maybe have we got that wrong?
Yeah, what you said was wrong. Well, I mean, with all due respect, but it's just, yeah, what you said was not correct. The magpie has no peace. Right? Birds have no peace. Birds don't have stomachs, so they're always hungry. Right? So, yeah, there's no peace, and you know what it's like when you're hungry. Imagine being like that all the time. The birds, if you've seen it, because we have a lot of birds here, it's like a bird paradise right here. The sparrows were these little guys, right? And they're just frightened all the time. You know, you see birds when they eat, it's always like... Yeah, you imagine you're sitting at home, you're going like... Yeah, because that's how they feel. They feel like someone's about to come at them from some angle. So there is no peace in their species of life. At all. No peace. That's why as a human we kind of get a balance. As you said, it's not peaceful, but it's not that bad either. Human beings just like the right kind of balance. And why is it? It's a better facility because no bird can come in here and understand what I'm saying. Because
Do they need to?
Yeah, of course.
Because they have that already.
They have nothing now. Just to tell them, their lives are worse than us. It's not better.
In all respect too. That's in your opinion.
No, that's fact. That's fact. That's not. We're talking about facts now. We're talking about opinions. What I say doesn't mean anything. I'm just taking a fact. There's no peace in that life form whatsoever. So, I mean, people say, "Oh, you just in the sky and just flying around." And so, like, I mean, I say to people, "What do you want to be in the next life?" People, I just want to be an albatross. You know, just fly. It's not like that at all. Everyone in the sky is fearful of the bigger bird constantly. Like that. That's the way they live. It's just fear-based all the time. So that there is no happiness or peace in their life. And our life is meant, as human beings, we've been given the opportunity, which they will get in the future again, in some distant birth, to attain enlightenment. And that is the goal of life. Because you've already said your life isn't that great. I mean, you're potentially saying our lives here as a human, it's not that great. So, this is not good enough for me. I mean, I have a good home. I was brought up, the way I was brought up, I had everything practically a kid would want or need. We weren't super rich, but we just had everything. I've always had everything my whole life. But I still don't feel deeply satisfied. So, of course I want to get out of this. So, do they need it? Yeah, everyone needs it. It's a choice of whether you want to take it or not. But any other question or comment what we've discussed? Very enlightening questions. I feel very honoured to have all of you come here today and ask these wonderful questions, enlightening questions. I hope that we've been able to answer them satisfactorily to you. Some people agree with us, some people disagree. But one thing everyone agrees on is that our food is the best. So if anyone is hungry right now, please help us, go to the kitchen, help us bring the pots. We'll take it into the next room, the dining area, and then we'll all go there and we'll share a meal together. And if you're not hungry, we'll see you next time. Thank you for coming. But I think it looks like you're all hungry. So, thank you very much for coming. Hare Krishna. And I almost forgot. In 2 weeks today, on April the 26th, we have our biggest festival of the year here at Hare Krishna Valley, which is Holi. You might have heard of Holi. It's become famous all over the world where everyone throws the colours on each other like that. So the Festival of Colours. So that's 2 weeks here at Hare Krishna Valley. Last year we had about 400 people turn up for Holi. It's not a free event. You have to pay for parking and for your dyes and for the food. It's not like free because we have to spend a lot of money to run the festival that day. We try to keep the cost down as much as we can for everyone, but it's not like that. But if you have a look at our website, I'll tell you all about it. And if you want to come, you can book online and book your tickets. You buy your dyes online. It's going to be an amazing day if the weather's okay. We'll just see what the weather's like. But if the weather's okay, it'll be an amazing day. Yeah, we hope it will be good. I have no control over it, but I really hope it will be a nice day. But last year it was amazing. Everyone was throwing the dyes, and it's just such a, Maniguru was on the stage with his band, and just an amazing day. There's face painting and henna and stuff for the kids, and it's just a really nice day. So we invite you all to come here, and come to Hare Krishna Valley anytime. We're always here. We're always there for you. We're trying to give some guidance, some stabilization, some goodness in the world. So you're welcome to come here and be with us anytime. We have a lot to do here. We have a big biodynamic garden that we're always working in. People come and stay with us all the time and help us in what we're doing. So you're more than welcome to come and share with us anytime you want. And if you have a look on the table out there, we have a calendar of events which tells all the retreats and things we're doing for this year. So take that with you. If you want to leave your email address, just write your name in the book. We'll put you on our list and we'll let you know when our retreats and everything are coming up. So, Hare Krishna, thank you for coming.